Hi, my name is Roland and welcome to my VectrexRoli channel. This is the first episode of VectrexRoli Chat, and in this new format I would like to talk to interesting people from the development community. And it is a real honor for me to start with two famous guys from Scotland called Jim and Chris, and they both develop homebrew games for the Vectrex.
Jim, do you want to...
Me first? You know more about it than me. Okay, well, ZX81 Spectrum owner, playing around with BASIC. Never really got very far with it, never finished anything. Went to university, forgot about that for a long time. And then I just started playing with the mobile phones, and I wanted to build a game for that. So I made a game called Space Wars, which is, the demo of it is actually out on the Android store.
A vector game, right?
A vector game, of course a vector game. Has to be a vector game. Never finished that either. There is a much more finished version of it on my computer, but never quite, just did the last little bit. Bumped into Chris at a video games event where I had a couple of arcade cabs up. Pinball and video. Well, both.
Yep.
And he was programming vector games, and he needed carts, he needed circuit boards, so I said I could make him some circuit boards, and the quid pro quo was he was going to teach me to code, and I would make him some hardware, and that's what he did.
Yeah, it worked out all right.
So he taught me how to code machine code in about a day, and I made a game. And that's what I have. So Chris, over to you then.
Yeah, that was Nox.
That was
being
Nox.
Your first project.
First machine code attempt.
You mentioned in your second project yet?
Oh yeah, I think it's been on the list anyway. There's the Stramash zone is the battle zone clone.
Yeah, which is sort of true 3D, calculated on the fly 3D, or
it's a proper 3D battle zone, and it's again it's another one of these unfinished projects. I've done all the hard stuff, so I've lost interest in it now, but I will finish it. I'll get all the. I just have to do the AI of the enemy tanks, and that'll be done.
Yep. So going way back to when I was a kid, my grandfather had just retired. He worked in a paper mill, and previous to that, he worked in the Navy. But I was very close to my grandfather, and so when he retired, he was obviously a little bored. Finding all this new free time in his hands, and home computers just became a thing and became accessible and whatnot. So I think he went out and bought himself a Commodore 16 computer, and I started playing with that and was really interested. And he was taking the often you get the old books of type in games and whatnot, like 50 games in a book, and you could type them in the 80s, and then invariably there'd be loads of errors and maybe like a little piece of paper with some corrections of some data statements.
If you're very lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky, it would compile and work. But I used to sit and type those in with my grandfather when I was a child, and him getting a computer, I was really excited about this and pestered my parents for the next Christmas or birthday, whatever it was, to get myself a Commodore 64. Probably started coding BASIC and just collecting games and playing loads of games at that point. And I think it was probably then where I decided I wasn't going to be an astronaut or like an RAF pilot or whatever I decided previously, and decided I want to be a programmer.
World's a much safer place, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I still don't even drive a car, so God knows what I'd be like piloting an airplane. But anyway, so I've been coding, since I was a kid, back and forth now and then, and in my job I do vector graphics and stuff for like diagramming software for the oil industry. When I started sort of programming for the Vectrex a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I've just been kind of slow in getting things out there. Life gets in the way and whatnot. It's inspiring to me. I really like limitations. Previously, I used to do a lot of music and 8-bit music and things on Game Boy and NES, and programming for those kind of systems. So when I came to Vectrex, I was sort of looking to do music, and then I started messing around with the display, and I thought, oh, well, why not make a game then? So it was kind of just being inspired by the hardware itself with the Vectrex.
The limitations are a really nice thing about it, because
absolutely.
I'm a total amateur programmer. I've not done anything professional programming ever, but I played around with Java, and it's just this gigantic bloated monster. And then when Chris introduced me to the Vectrex, the whole vocabulary fits on a single sheet of A4 paper.
Yeah,
it's lovely. You can understand it. You can get it all in your head.
It's beautiful in its simplicity. As much as people kind of think of machine code as being a sort of a hard thing to do, but to me, it's, if you can operate a calculator, you can probably write a game in machine code. It just takes a little bit of planning, and you have to understand the limitations of the machine in order to get the best out of it.
I was always scared of it as a kid. I programmed in BASIC, and I was, because what the books were like back then. It just, you opened the Spectrum manual about machine code, and it started talking about how to manipulate the stack, and your brain just seized up, and it frightened you off. But when you actually get into it, there's nothing difficult about it at all.
No. And it's fun, and you can produce games at the end of it. And at the end of the day, that's the reward for all the hard work.
It beats doing Sudoku or something.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge.
You mentioned that you are doing the music on your own. I think the music for the game Death Chase, you have done that, right?
Yeah.
You made this.
And
did the music for Nox, which is the best bit of Nox, actually.
No. Thank you. But yeah, thanks. I knocked out both of those pretty quickly. To be honest, I'm still interested. I'm very interested in putting out a musical EP or something in cartridge form one of these days, where I really spend a bit more time on the music, because I kind of feel like I've rushed a lot of the ditties I've done so far on the Vectrex. I really like to kind of push it a little further. I've got to show you some of
the music stuff of that mechanical television I've been building.
Yes,
I discovered if you put music into it instead of a broadcast signal, it produces wonderful moire patterns and things.
Wow,
it's really nice. I'm going to build a machine specifically for that.
You might need to explain that. I don't know if we're drifting slightly off course here.
it's something geeky. It'll be all right. But I'm going to build a video game for the mechanical TV. That's how we bring it back. You see.
Yes, that's crazy.
It's like a John Logie Baird 1928 style mechanical TV, but I'm using an Arduino at the heart of it, so I could write a video game for it. So I was thinking like an Angry Birds type thing, or something like that. Something that'll work on 32 lines by infinity, but it's analog,
Yeah.
So you own 3 pinball machines. Is this correct, or is this not your whole collection?
Yes, no, that's my whole collection. There's, I live in a flat, so there's not a heck of a lot of room for any more. It's although I'd love to have more.
You're on the 3rd or 4th floor, is it?
Yeah, I'm on the 3rd floor, so it's not easy to get them upstairs either. It's like kind of 6 flights of stairs.
So when Chris asks you over for a beer, you go, have you just bought a pinball machine?
Yeah, it's probably I'm needing a favor. Yeah.
You have an own webpage, right? Called binaryStarSoftware.com. I will put a link in the description for the viewers. Please tell us a bit what the viewers can find there and what they can download there.
Not a hell of a lot at the moment. There's a few descriptions of games that are currently in development and hopefully will be released in 2015. There's order information for my Christmas cartridge I produced recently, which is, in fact, I barely slept for the past fortnight because. But so that's done. All of those cartridges have been sent out now. Hopefully, you should be receiving yours any day now. The Christmas cartridge contained 2 sort of festive themed games with sort of falling gifts. One stocking filler where you, like Activision's Kaboom, you control using the analog stick a little stocking at the bottom of the screen and have to collect gifts as they fall and avoid collecting bombs. And basically that's it. collect the gifts, don't let them fall, and don't collect any bombs. And the other game is a sort of inverted copy of that game where gifts are falling and you have to shoot them before they reach the ground, and bombs, if you let them reach the ground, they will kill you. And otherwise there's some snowmen and larger gifts that split up and other kind of things to look out for, but they're both very simple sort of mini games, I would describe them. But on a festive theme, it was really just quite a quick project, just because I quite wanted to put something out for Christmas, and I had the cartridges and things here. So in fact, behind me there's boxes of Vectrex cartridge boxes. So get in touch if you want some.
And circuit boards.
Yes, and circuit boards as well. Yep. Developers out there, get in touch. We've got loads. I spotted some LED transparent Christmas trees, and sort of inspired by pinball machines sort of often have a topper which goes on the top and might be a flashing light or some sort of animated thing, you know. Yeah, something to attract your eye to the pinball machine. And so I thought, well, if I just get I figured I guess I can run 5 volts out the cartridge port, so if I just stick a USB port, I can get some little gimmick thing to go along with the first few orders. So yeah, that's exactly what I've done, and I think it's pretty cute. Yes, yeah, I'm not limiting the number really. The first 10 carts went out with the Christmas tree, and I'm going to leave that as the first 10 carts only, but the rest of them you can still order one just now, but unfortunately I'm out of EEPROM chips, so I can't really do any more orders until about the 5th of January, because my supplier gets new chips back in then. So
get your Christmas presents in early.
But I think I'll leave them on sale until January, the end of January anyway, so if anyone wants one after Christmas, just get in touch and I'll send you one out. Yeah, Hex was kind of inspired. It was I wrote that on a Sunday. It was just a kind of one day project. That one was a friend of mine. I think I'd been over on the Saturday night or something, and he'd shown me Super Hexagon on his phone. I'd never seen the game before. I thought it was really great, and it was the sort of thing that could be done quite nicely on a Vectrex, and especially with like spinner controls. So that's exactly what I did. I added support for the Atari driving controller in port 2, and did a quick. It's kind of like a very deconstructed version of Super Hexagon, but then my original plan was to really do a proper version of Super Hexagon, but I noticed another developer announced, he was doing a version of it, so I kind of ceased work on that one, waiting for his release to see. I might do a variation on the game and do a proper version of Hex at a later date, but I've kind of been waiting to see what the other developer releases first, because his version looked superior to mine anyway, so I thought I'd just hold off, see what he does, and then if maybe take it in a different direction, you know. But I really like the game, you know. Yes, Nagoya Attack, yeah. It's actually named after a technique in Space Invaders where I think you let the invader come down to the last line, because when they're on the last line when they've destroyed your bases and they're on the last line, they don't shoot at you when they're point blank. So as long as your timing is good enough, you can just take out the invaders without any worry of being shot. But obviously, if you let one invader pass, your game is over, and or your life is lost. And Nagoya Attack is sort of inspired by that technique, and also there's a sort of title test board, I guess, that was produced, I think maybe 1990 or so, and it's I guess it was for the engineers only, but they must have included a little game of Space Invaders, which is a sort of skill-based version where there was only a few Space Invaders on screen, and you just had to sort of take them out before they reached the bottom. It was very deconstructed Space Invaders. I always liked that. You can play it in MAME if you check it out, in Minivader. And Nagoya Attack was directly inspired by that. And again, probably coded in about 5 days or something. And but that will be joining my version of Demon Attack, simply called Demon. It's an old Atari 2600 game, another sort of bottom shooter, shoot 'em up like Phoenix, very similar to Phoenix. I love Phoenix a lot, but Birds of Prey already exists on the Vectrex. John Donzilla did a fantastic version of that, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I don't need to go there. So, but I've always had this place in my heart for Demon Attack as well. I think it's a great, one of the best Atari 2600 games. So, I thought I'd do a nice version for the Vectrex, and hopefully that should be out probably second quarter next year. Fingers crossed, anyway.
Before we come to the future projects, before we want to hear more about Nox, for example, there's another cartridge or another ROM you can download called Vectopong. And what I liked is, if I remember correctly, you can also play it in a 2-player mode, right? And you can use both digital and analog controls.
Yeah, that was something that I spent a little bit of time on, just because I understand that a lot of people have one Vectrex unit, they have one Vectrex controller, and Vectrex controllers can be quite pricey in of themselves, you know. They're like £50 or something for a replacement controller these days. And so one thing I like to do, and I've done it in a couple of games, I think Death Chase, Vectopong, maybe a couple others that haven't been released yet. I like to put two controllers, if possible, 2 players on the one controller, because I understand that a lot of people only have one controller. So if I can do it, if I can squeeze 2 people to play a game, if it's just left, right, fire controls or something, or rotate left, rotate right, accelerate or whatever, I like to try and fit that on, so at least people can have some fun with another player, even though they don't have the 2 controls. And again, some people may only have a hacked digital pad because they haven't been able to get the more hard to obtain analog Vectrex controllers, you know. And again, yeah, they're becoming harder and harder to find. But thankfully, thanks to a few people now are building adapters, so you'll soon be able to use things like the PlayStation controller with your Vectrex. I've even done a little. I haven't even announced this before, but I've done a little hacking with like Wii controllers as well, using them with the Vectrex. So I know that there's several solutions to this, thankfully. Now with the availability and cheapness of our Arduinos, it's very easy to hack out a controller adapter. Really, it's not really too bad. So I think hopefully Vectrex controllers will maybe dip down a little in price again. But I think the original ones will probably always fetch a premium, you know.
Silly money.
Well, at least people can play, and that's the main thing, you know.
Sure,
we're going left to right. It's Data East, Tales from the Crypt. That's Bally Doctor Dude, which will be for sale soon if anyone wants to buy it. And Data East Laser War, which is about 1987, 1990, and a 1993 machine there. So they're all getting on, but they're not quite as old as me.
And I'm going into the arcade machines, so I've got a Gorf Cocktail, I've got a Marble Madness, a Defender and a Robotron, and then I've got the wee Atari Cabarets, so I've got an Asteroids, and I've also got a German bootleg wall-mounted Asteroids called Meteor, which is really nice, lovely glass art on it. So I've got the Asteroids Meteor, I've got a Tempest, and I've got a Battle Zone, and I've also got a Missile Command and a Centipede, and a couple of Gravatar projects in the garage that are kind of in pieces. But as you see, I like the Vector games, so obviously developing for the Vectrex, that was just like, I can do that? Oh, excellent!
Yeah.
Because I had these machines, I had these at the show where I met Chris, in fact. My Robotron it's the Euro Robotron, and it came from Germany as well. Somebody else bought it and then discovered they didn't have any money, so I inherited it from them. So they organised the shipping, and then they realised they couldn't pay for it, so it went to me. So that was quite nice, and it was a mess. It had been converted to Kung Fu Master, and I converted it all back, and it looks lovely. I mean, most of my machines like that. The Defender was a a Butcher Jammer cab. It's now quite a nice Defender. And my Gravitars, which are still not done yet, they were World Cup 90s. It seems to be everything seems to get converted into World Cup 90. But I've got all the bits to put them back together. That's half the fun as far as I'm concerned. I don't like these spanking new machines. I like to have the beat up old things and, and rebuild them.
Mm-hmm.
So a project cab is always nice. Although I've run out of room. That's why the Gravitars are in the garage. Nox was my very first attempt at coding for the Vectrex, coding in machine code at all, and that's done and dusted. So it's a 12-13 track version of a sort of a Sprint 2 type game, 2-player, 1-player or 2-player I should say, and it's got music done by Chris, which is really nice, and this seems to pull together quite well. I'm quite pleased with it actually. But everybody knows the game Sprint. It's like little race cars going round and round, and the AI was quite fiendish. I had a kind of really naff way of doing the AI for the cars at first. I was just going to have them go around in a sort of boring path that I would pre-render. But then I discovered how Atari actually did it, and it works really nicely.
Yeah, it's really clever actually.
The game is finished. The artwork's all done. The overlays are designed. It's the whole package is put together.
Come on, show it.
And it's
Is there too much reflection? It looks just white.
Well, you can cut in a proper picture, but it's quite clever. It's a double A side. It's a double A side with Chris's Death Chase game, and so they'll come on a cart with both games, and a box like that, and 2 overlays, and instruction manuals, and bugs, and all sorts of nonsense. And we were hoping to get it out before Christmas, and it is all done. It's just a case of pulling the manufacturing of it together.
Yep,
which always is.
It's just the packaging, really. I got a couple of things I want to add to Death Chase, but
they'll take you minutes. Though the way that Chris programs done, to take me about 2 months, it'll take him about 2 hours. So that is all really done. It just has to be made, manufactured, and then it'll be ready to go. And it'll go on Chris's website, and it'll go on my website as well when I get that put up again as well.
Yep.
It's not there yet.
Clockworkrobot.com.
Clockworkrobot.com. Go there now, there'll be nothing there.
A picture of a woman playing the theremin, I think.
Oh, that might have somebody playing a theremin, yes. So that project's done and dusted, really. And my next one...
Yeah, it's due for release,
Yeah. And the next one will be the Stramash zone.
Yep.
Which is done but for the tank AI.
You should probably explain Stramash.
Stramash, Scots word for, what do you think?
Battle? Well, I think it means
a scooshy.
Quarrel, or argument.
Yes, it's an argument zone. It's got a nice ring to it, I thought, though. So that's been sitting on the computer for a while now as well. It's quite fun at the moment because to check that I had the tanks working, I've actually I've programmed the enemy tank to the player 2 controller, so you can play it as a 2-player game. But you've got to kind of watch your tank on the other person's display. It's quite nice. It's working quite well.
But as far as I know, several people tried to program Battlezone on the Vectrex, but they failed because the Vectrex was not fast enough to do the 3D calculations, right?
Yeah, this started with an argument, didn't it? There were people saying that on one of the lists. I don't know if it's the one on the Facebook. Oh, you can't do Battlezone, and in my ignorance, I said, "Oh, why not? You could do it on the VIC-20 and stuff." And Rommel's Revenge was one of my favourite games on the ZX Spectrum, and that's why I ended up, Battlezone, the actual arcade cab, was one of my grail cabs that I just wanted all along, and I was so pleased when I got one, even though it's the most unreliable piece of rubbish in the world. So they were saying, "Oh, you can't do it," and I had written a kind of a really basic sort of battle zone in Blitz Basic on an Amiga years ago. And again, I hadn't finished that either, but I kind of learned a few wee tricks on how to make it work a bit more quickly on that. So I kind of implemented them, and it seems to work. Sometime after Nox. We'll see sometime.
Summer.
Summer. Yeah, we're just not which summer. It'll be released in a summer.
Yeah.
There isn't actually a lot to do on it.
Be released in summer.
Or winter. Or spring.
Oh yeah, when the leaves are turning brown.
Yeah. It will be released. I will get it done. I promise I will get it done. And Space Wars as well. So we'll get that done too. Put it on my new computer. So
Okay.
It works.
Yes, before we do mention any other projects, I guess we should show...
You can cut them in, but I can show them on the screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can... I don't know if you can even see these. These are the designs Jim did for... I have to say, Jim's a fantastic artist and has designed both overlays for Death Chase and for Nox. That's the orange is the track there, Nox. Death Chase is just a green overlay. There's the cartridge with the beautiful.
I want that, guys. Please put me on your pre-order list. I will not release this video until you put me as the first guy on your pre-order list, okay?
yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah.
Find the manuals by the way.
They're not there.
There's some instruction manuals as well.
Yeah, there's some instruction manuals as well, and yeah,
It's beautiful.
front and back. This is just a sort of a card prototype.
And it's the wrong size.
Obviously, they haven't been produced properly yet. You know.
Do you want to show them the Sega controller?
Oh, you may as well. Yeah.
If you're going to mention that.
Yep. Okay. This is you better mention the other game now, really.
Well, okay. So Chris was showing me these encoders, the little spinner controls, and there are a few Vectrex games that have already been hacked to use that. Like Star Castle and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Hex and yeah.
And everybody was saying, "Oh, put a steering wheel control into Nox," and I was like, "No, I'm finished Nox. I don't want to go back to it. It's the first game I ever wrote, and it's complete spaghetti, and I can't understand it anymore." So rather than do that, I thought we'll do a 4-player Nox with 4 controllers and spinner controls. And so I've designed a way of getting 4 spinners and 2 buttons on each controller. So it's like 4 controllers with a spinner and 2 buttons out of the Vectrex. Really simply. So I'm going to do Nox 4, and you're going to do
Warlords or whatever lords.
Warlords.
Vec Lords, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it'll be another 4-player game with
4
rotary controls. Yeah, again,
and maybe with controllers with it, being sold in a package with the controls.
and again, like Nox and Death Chase, it'll be another 2 overlay game, double-sided packaging probably again. That same collaboration between the pair of us. So
yeah, so that's the future program.
Yeah, there you go.
After I've done Stramash.
It's the first time that's been mentioned at all, really.
Yes.
Outside of between conversations between ourselves. So
And then there's Mike.
don't expect that like tomorrow. Like is in a way sometimes, sometimes I think I'm going to deliver something in like a month or 2, and it winds up being 6 months time. It's just the way things go. Obviously, this is a hobby. It's not a job. So you get in when you fit in. So, we've certainly got plenty of ideas, and we're not lacking in enthusiasm for the Vectrex or games in general. Yeah, exactly. Far too many ideas. Yeah, we could do with another 20 of ourselves.
Yes. We like.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I hope it was as interesting and entertaining for you as it was for me. Check out the webpage of Jim and Chris, I will put the link in the description below. Please like, share and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.